Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube, and this week we're looking at part 2 of understanding the kinetic chain. And this week we're looking at our relationship between our hips and our shoulders and all of our torso muscles and how we can use them properly to transfer energy from the legs to the hands. And before we get started, we are having a Black Friday sale right on the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com. Use coupon code Black Friday at checkout, and you will receive 25% off any purchase, and this extends into subscription-based purchases, so you get that 25% bonus going until you cancel. This deal is running from today until December 1st, so jump on it now if you want to utilize our coaching service. Thank you all so much for the support, and we'll get right to it. So how we utilize our torso is one of the trickiest and most common errors when we're looking at utilizing our whole body for a paddle stroke. Using your arms independently, pumping your legs to no avail. Where does it all go wrong? It goes wrong, and how the energy is being transferred through your body and how you're moving your torso. In last week's episode, we talked about the shoulder position and turning your shoulder into the stroke to give you increased leverage with your arm. Now we're looking at why does the shoulder move? The answer is the hip. If you can connect your hips to your shoulders when your legs and hips move, the paddle blade will move as well. So my legs and hips moving allow this blade to move through space. The common error would be that the shoulders move by themselves. You can see my legs and hips stop moving. My shoulders are doing the motion to get the blade in front of me. Or you can see here that my hips move under me. So I'm bicycling my legs, I'm moving my hips, I'm doing everything that guy on YouTube keeps talking about, but my paddle does not respond in the same way. The reason for both of these is a disconnect at the torso, right? I am segmenting my upper body to work independently from my legs, and I am segmenting my legs to work independently from my upper body. Connecting these two allows full transfer of energy. When my legs move, it travels through my entire kinetic chain into my tool, and you can see my tool respond to my larger joints moving back and forth. So anytime you're paddling fast and you feel like your heart rate shoots up immediately, you are more than likely only paddling with your upper body, and once those muscles are flush with lactic acid, it's game over for your heart rate. And the easy cue to identify if you can do this is just sit on land. Have a paddle in your hand, whether it's a canoe or kayak paddle, and move your hips. If everything is connected properly when your hips move, you don't have to think of your shoulders, elbows, and hands moving and the blade moving in front of you. It just happens because your hips are connected to your upper body. If there's a disconnect, you'll do something like this. Well, I can't get my legs to move, or I'm gonna pump my legs excessively and nothing happens here. You can identify these things on land before attempting them on the water. Just like we talked about last week, we think about our hands within the paddle stroke. So the first thing everybody does when they get into a boat is they sit and they use their hands to start taking strokes. And there's not a lot of assessment there when we're thinking about the actual paddle stroke. Your hands can complete positive blade angle, neutral, negative, exit, set up the next stroke. Your hands can do all of this stuff by themselves, and when we get into a boat, we lock onto that and perform it. On land, you remove the water aspect, so you can focus more on how you're moving your body and assess. Is my leg moving my hip to move my shoulder, or is my leg motion not doing anything? So how do we connect them? The most common cue that you may hear is that you want to flex your abdomen, and this helps you towards this end goal, but it is not something that directly allows it to occur. If I flex my abdomen, I kind of break my posture, I lean over, and I do this crunch here to really flex these muscles. And so if these muscles are tight, believe it or not, I can still move my shoulders independently and my legs independently. And I'm squeezing my abdomen as hard as I can. The better cue and the more difficult one to try and get somebody to do is you want to squeeze your lat muscles together. These muscles run literally from your shoulder blades to your hip joint. And so having these muscles flex tightens these upper body muscles to your lower body muscle. So flexing your lats is really tricky for a lot of people because they can't really feel how to engage those muscles back here. Some of the common cues that help you with that is bringing your shoulder blades together behind you. And the second one would be thinking about your collarbones coming down. As we go through bad posture and movement, right, if our collarbones come up, these muscles are going to stretch. And as they're stretched, they have more range of motion and it allows for more disconnect. So if you're taking a stroke with your hands up or rotating or extending too much, these muscles here have too much freedom of motion and they can start operating by themselves. Bringing the collarbones down and the shoulder blades back is going to bring these muscles tighter together. And as you flex your lats, the moment that you move your hips, your shoulders are going to move and follow as well. If you've seen anybody that's very muscular and they walk and they look super stiff and they kind of walk around with this bravado, part of it is because their lats are very tight, and whenever they move their hips, their shoulders move with them. So in some range of motions, that's not a great thing, but here in paddling, it's actually something that we're looking for. If those muscles are tight, it means that you don't have to do so much to get your hips and shoulders to work together. If these muscles are much more mobile or trained to have high elbows, trying to bring these back to tighten those muscles will now complete that energy circuit from your hips to your shoulders. So again, if I stretch all these muscles out, my legs can move and my hands don't move, and then my shoulders moving doesn't mean that my legs have to move, right? So getting too extended here gives you a lot of freedom of motion with your upper body. In the case of paddling, right, we want to try and keep these muscles tighter. The other reason that we get extended here is, again, we're thinking about our hands and the paddle blade, and we're thinking of reach, reach, reach. We're thinking about positive blade angle, and all of these things want to naturally extend your upper torso. Getting 2 or 3 more inches of reach at the cost of breaking your posture and disconnecting your lower body from the stroke is not a trade that you want to make. The cues that I've just described is going to pull the paddle back to you. If I pull my shoulder blades together and my collarbones down, now you're going to see this paddle go from a position out here all the way to here. But it opens up the ability for me to rotate to get the paddle into a similar position, and it allows my lower body to connect with the water instantly. If my body is overextended, I'm gonna reach a very similar position, but now only my upper body can do the work. I can push and pull and move my legs as much as I want. If the paddle does not move when your legs move, you have a disconnect and you're only arm paddling. So doing that again, shoulder blades together, collarbones down, turning the hips, setting up positive blade angle. The moment my right leg extends, my paddle moves, meaning that my leg is powering the paddle stroke. Same exact thing in the kayak would be bringing the shoulder blades together, collarbones down, turning at the hip, setting at positive blade angle. The moment my leg moves, the paddle is going to move. Once I'm done with my leg in hip motion, I set up the next stroke. I'm set up in position, keeping my shoulder blades down and together, setting up and going through that motion. It is very hard to do this, again, when we're thinking about going forward into the stroke. Bringing the shoulder blades back, collarbones down. Now you're gonna see that I'm gonna be sitting with very good posture. Posture is a tool to give you the connection from your lower body to your upper body. The moment the spine curves forward or to the side, this means that these stretched out muscles here are gonna have a disconnect when my legs move and when my arms move through the motion. Keep all of these leverages together and you can maximize the leg drive that you have. If your torso is extended, you do not have leg drive in your stroke. The movement of the legs by themselves is not an indicator of it. It is how well your hips move and your hands can follow because these muscles are tight to the spine. Thank you all so much for checking out this week's video. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe, and a big shout out to all of our YouTube members, and their name is gonna appear here. And we'll see you all next week for part 3 of understanding kinetic chain when we talk about the lower body.